thank goodness people are starting to listen. William Binney is one of them. He is, you were with the NSA for 40 years. What was your title at the NSA?
Well, I rose up to be the technical director of the World Geopolitical and Military Analysis Group, which was about 6,000 analysts, which, that was basically the intelligence reporting of the NSA.
Okay. So tell me how bad, tell the American people who might be listening for the very first time, because this is no longer theory now, this is out there. Tell us exactly the truth and what the White House and the members of Congress don't want you to know.
Oh, I think I can say that...
Yeah, I think you have another phone call.
Yeah, I'm getting another call here.
It might be the president. You might want to take that.
I don't think so. I'll have to try that one later. Sorry.
There you go.
Shut it off, yeah. While I do this. I see that the whole program started early or late or mid to late October of 2001, and it started by pulling in just a toll record or the phone records of from various telephone companies of U.S. citizens making phone calls anywhere in the world or in the United States. So that total accumulation, I estimated about 3 billion U.S. to U.S. phone calls every day. So that was being indexed. So that was building your communities of interest out of that, so that who you talk to daily and how you interact with them was being recorded and could be timelined, so you could look at a timeline and see how people interact with others. This included the senators, House representatives, everybody. So then in 2003, with Mark Klein's disclosure of the NARIS devices on the fiber optic lines of inside the United States, that started to say, well, they're spreading around inside this country to somewhere between 10 and 20 sites. The capacity to collect emails and any other activity on the Internet and store it. Okay, so that gave them that information. This is the intelligence community doing it. You hear all the requests for the FBI to get the information, but that's only because the FBI needs it to go into court, and you can't use NSA collected data for a court because it's not acquired by a warrant. But if the FBI has a request, a warrant to get it, then they can take it into court.
Okay, so why did the president have to go and say, I want William Rosen's stuff? Because he intended on prosecuting? Or James Rosen?
I think there's, well, I think it's to, excuse me, Glenn, but I think it's to intimidate reporters for the main part. But also there probably is somebody that they're interested in prosecuting that's been, talking to Jim Rosen or to the AP. There's more in there. Maybe they were interested in the stories that the AP was trying to develop. So by getting that kind of data, they could take it into court and show the relationships that would imply, who was leaking information or who was. Or they could assert that as an allegation for an indictment.
We're talking to NSA whistleblower William Binney. William, what do you say to people who claim, well, I don't care if they're collecting information on me. I'm not doing anything wrong anyway. What are they going to do with it? What do you say to those people who just don't understand what this is all about?
Well, you can only try to point out examples of things that go on that could very well be a part of this. Like, for example, all of the IRS targeting of the Tea Party. I've said early on, several years ago, that if you wanted to know who was involved in the Tea Party, this kind of activity would lay out their entire structure and everybody who's involved in it, no matter where they are inside the country. And that information then could be passed to the IRS to target people.
What do you think? What do you think the administration is doing with this information now? Are they doing anything nefarious with it? Will they turn this against us?
I think they're already doing that, but to a certain degree. But certainly, that's been my major concern is that's how totalitarian states begin.
Okay, so
once
Bill,
you have that kind of information about the population, you can now control your population. This has been historically true down through the ages of how these totalitarian states work. I mean, the KGB did it in Russia. The Gestapo and SS did it in
but this
Germany.
Look how much further we can go than the KGB did.
This is way available. Beyond. There wouldn't be a Jew alive on the planet today if they had this information.
Yeah, they simply they could never have dreamed of having this kind of capability.
Okay, so tell me that because I've heard conflicting reports on this, and I would like to get your opinion because I believe I know what is capable. They're saying that two things. One, oh no, they're just connecting the dots. They don't have access to any conversations or anything. And then on the other side of that, I've heard they can take every keystroke. So in other words, you start writing an email and you can go delete, 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 and they'll have what you wrote and all of the deletes if they care to open those packages. True or false?
That's true. I mean, their statement about we don't have content is an outright lie. I mean, that's been going on. The Naris devices from 2003 give them that data. Even the telecoms, if you looked at that report on PRISM, they were requesting information like emails, videos, all kinds. That's all content.
So, Bill, they have, I know this. We started getting on this because we had Michael Chertoff and John Ashcroft on in the days when Bush was still in office, and neither of them would go online. Neither of them would have a phone or email, and they just laughed at me. And they were like, if you knew what we could do, you wouldn't have it either. And we started talking about it at that point. And so it won't really stop because how do you dismantle something like this? First of all, for all of those members of the media that were talking about these things being a conspiracy theory, what the hell did they build the Utah information vault for? How do you dismantle something like this? I listened to Lindsey Graham give his testimony, and I thought to myself, gee, Lindsey, what is it they have on you? What is it they have on you? Because this doesn't make any sense. What you're saying is totalitarian in its end.
I agree, Glenn. I mean, it's really disturbing what he's saying. I mean, I couldn't understand why he couldn't stand up for the Constitution.
Yeah.
So how do you end it? Does it end?
I mean, it's going to take radical action by the people just to vote these idiots out of office.
Mm-hmm. But they, again, I go back to what George Bush said to me. My hands are tied pretty much. I have no real decisions. Who is going to shut down? It's really not about the elected officials. One thing I thought of was I don't believe for a second John Roberts, because I've read the ruling. He was on the other side and didn't even have enough time to really even root out all of the things that he was writing. He was on the other side, and he comes in for the ruling, and he's blurry-eyed and looked like he's been crying all night. I mean, honestly, what gives me any kind of confidence that man wasn't called up by somebody and says, John, I don't think you're going to vote that way because of X, Y, or Z. I mean,
if they're doing this to Congress, they're certainly doing it to Supreme Court justices. I mean, that's a possibility, right?
Well, they're all in it. I mean, it's not. I mean, all their data is being collected, so that's certainly possible.
Okay, Bill, I sure appreciate all of the heat that you have taken for so long, and you have been vindicated through this story, and I unfortunately know that is not something that you celebrate.
Yeah.
But I thank you, and thank you for all of the help that you have given the country, and I'd like to have you on again maybe next week to talk about encouraging other whistleblowers and anything that we can do, anything we can do as people to help encourage those who might have a guilty conscience and just have been like, I don't know what to do, and they feel trapped. How can we help them?
Yeah. Certainly there still are people like that because these exposures are coming out.
And it's amazing they're coming out even at the time when the administration is doing their damnedest to intimidate and scare them.
Yes,
it gives me a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. One of the chief guys from the NSA, William Binney, and we will talk to him again. By the way,